The board is back in open session. There are no presentations tonight, but there are taking positive steps in service awards, because I can see them over there.
Yes, absolutely. So I am honored to give our Taking Positive Steps or Service Award to our two guests from Thailand, Mr. Tripong Kempet and Mr. Chat. They have definitely won the award for traveling the farthest to be honored with this award. It is truly hard to imagine the school district of Lodi without our partnership with our sister school in Thailand. Our exchange program is robust. We have a unique and distinguished distance education program and even added a study tour in recent years. Due to COVID, these programs had to pause, except for our distance education program, which was an online education program long before people talked about it. But we are ramping these programs back up. Our connection with our friends from Thailand has become second nature for most of us, but we can never take it for granted. It takes a lot of hard work, time, and effort from dedicated professionals in Thailand and here in Lodi to ensure these types of opportunities exist for our students from both schools. These type of opportunities don't happen without the great vision and leadership. Thanks to Mr. Chat for his vision, Mr. Tripong Kempet for his leadership, and thanks to Mr. Jelnick, Mr. Fossbender, Ms. Barlow, and Mr. Cole for their hard work and dedication, and the Board of Education for your vision and leadership in supporting this partnership over the years. Both schools see the value and importance of this partnership and the power of bringing us all closer together by focusing on our similarities, not our differences. Programs like this help us to better understand our fellow persons, regardless of where he or she happened to be born. So I'm honored tonight to present the Taking Positive Steps of Service Award to Mr. Panchet and Mr. Chat. So if you want to come and speak, Chat, I know you usually do.
Thank you. Thank you. เดี๋ยวผมพูดเขาเพิ่งบอก So good afternoon, everyone. It's on behalf of my director, it's our honor to join you here in this meeting. Let me put it this way: I'm not a sweet talker, but I've been here more than 10 times, and I know that the education board have been doing good things for education in Lodi for a long, long time, and I really appreciate it. And I would say that schools in Lodi are great schools. I have been visited many schools in Australia, in Singapore, New Zealand, and I would love to say this, that these 4 schools are wonderful, wonderful schools that I have ever been visited. So thank you very much for having us here tonight. Thank you. ขอบคุณครับ
Why don't we do that now? Okay.
It's up to you.
Yeah, go.
All right.
Our guests have some gifts for you. You have some gifts for them. So the first thing that my director would like to present is small token to the district office as usual, as we normally do. All right. So, Mr. Bryony, please. And the small tokens to all the board. เดี๋ยวผมถือให้ท่านหยิบแล้วมอบเชิญที่ประธานก่อนนะ Start with the board president.
Thank you very much.
So here, I'm going to give you a little lesson. Kap kun krap is thank you in Thai.
One more time.
Krap.
to give you some good memory for your last meeting. So this box is our school pin. The school pin. And this is the bag. It's the local product of Suphanburi, the town that we come from. All right, so thank you very much.
Wait,
We also have gifts for you, we would like to present to you.
That's why I love to come here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's good to be here.
it is good to be here.
And thank you.
Sure.
You want to leave two for the other board members?
Yep, please. Oh, I broke this one. There you
I have remind me, why don't you give me that one?
Yeah.
Because I can give you,
go. Okay,
I have one.
yep, all right, thank you.
This is for all the two board members that are not here today.
Thank you, everyone.
This beautiful plate before I break it.
Put her in the cabinet.
You hate to have them travel 30 hours and then you break in it and give it to us.
Next, we have public input. Purpose of the public input agenda item is for citizens and staff of the School District of Lodi to provide comments on any agenda item or publicly address the Board of Education on items that pertain to school business. Portion of the meeting during which the comment of the public is invited shall be limited to 10 people unless extended by a vote of the board prior to the beginning of the public input portion of the meeting. The amount of time allotted to each speaker will generally not exceed 3 minutes. If the speaker has questions for the board, they'll be duly noted. Responses will be provided in an appropriate manner. But the board cannot respond to individual questions or individual comments as part of the public input agenda item. As an additional reminder, the board cannot take action on any item that is brought forward during public input session or on any item that is not posted on the meeting agenda. If you are providing comments, we would merely ask that you please come to the microphone and state your name and municipality of residence. So tonight we only have one, and it's Suzanne Miller, if you'd like to step up.
Good morning, board members. Good afternoon, evening. Thumbs up. Seems early. I returned because I did want to follow up, and this would be number 2 of 23 if I took a full high school political science class, in order to get those 70 minutes in. First, I want to thank all the candidates who ran. You're not a loser. You're a doer. And so I thank you for doing that. Mr. Steinberg, I particularly came to follow up with you yet again. No return phone calls.
I told you to call me anytime you want.
I have. I called twice. Unless you're telling me Mo doesn't give you your messages. But I'm not going to track you down. I'm not going to hunt you down. We talk about responses getting back to us in due time. I think it was in January. So, you have not returned my calls. You do not return my calls. Like I said, I believe Mo got you your messages that I had called twice in the same week. I was asking about the primary school. I asked about the bleachers. The answer that I got from this board was why the bleachers were removed. That was not the question I asked. The question I asked was what was the linear feet and the value of that lumber that nobody wanted, along with the $1,000 Pleasant Street school that nobody wanted, that the same people sold or got rid of. It's not a Renaissance fair. It's not a new library. It's not an arts council, a banquets facility, or a place to have dances. It's someplace for Mr. LLC to make $800,000 off of the $1,000 that you sold that real estate to. That continues. I was a write-in candidate. I knocked on those doors up there, found out more about the little church, the people that were basically chased out of there. That's across the street from the primary school. Heard about another gentleman who was ready to pay market value for the Pleasant Street School, and Mr. Purcell informed him there were other plans for that building. That would be the third name that I personally have gotten stories of people that wanted to buy that property that you could not find a buyer for. Lastly, I did want to address journalism: who, what, when, where, why, and how. You can give me whatever answer you want, but if you did not answer the question I asked, which was the value of the lumber, I'm going to come back. I'm going to follow up. Tomorrow night at City Hall, the developers are drooling. I can hardly wait to see what comes out of that meeting. And lastly, if you are serving, may I recommend you start including local government, League of Municipalities, possibly in your curriculum, and certainly for board members. I like the tabs on powers of governance and particularly conflicts of interest. Thank you for your time.
Once it begins, you can't make it stop.
Just take it with you, Tyler.
Next is consent agenda items. Items in this section will be adopted as a group unless a board member requests a specific item to be removed from the consent agenda and addressed separately. We have approval of the minutes from March 14th. We have the vouchers, which are the payroll checks, direct deposits, accounts payable checks, and the credit card payments. Fundraiser requests: LVS third grade fundraiser, Interact Club, music variety show, entertainment card fundraiser, and a MACC fundraiser. We have no fundraiser reports. We have a field trip requests for Disney World through the high school music department. There are no committee recommendations for approval. Under other, we have winter sports season summary, Wednesday evening requests, and the loaning of athletic equipment for the local summer program. Under resignation and retirement, primary school 4K educational assistant, an instructional coach, middle school assistant track coach, primary school special education assistant, there are 2 of them, and a 4K teacher. Under co-curriculars, we have JV2 basketball coach, JV girls soccer coach, JV girls soccer volunteer coach, varsity volleyball coach, and middle school assistant track coach. There's nothing under community program crew. Under regular staff, we have summer school teachers, a bunch were added, and we have a bunch of educational assistants that were added for the summer school. And then we also have 4K educational assistant. Under personnel other, we have leave without pay requests, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Someone like to make a motion? You want me to make it? I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented with the addition of the resignation of 4K teacher Janelle Mosley and the approval of Heather Hillstead as a 4K educational assistant and the MACC fundraiser by the golf team.
Second.
So I made a motion and Christie seconded it. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Carrie's an aye also. It passes 6 to 0. There you are. Agenda items, 801.
Yeah, so the first one is look at our memorandum of understanding with our sister school in Sangwang Ying School in Suphanburi, Thailand. As I said, we have a robust exchange program with the school, as well as a distance education class, which has been taught between the schools. Both schools celebrated the 10-year anniversary of the distance education program this past year. Mr. Tripong Kempet, and the director of Sangwang Ying School, and Mr. Sapanachat, the English Program Advisor, have traveled to Lodi to sign another 2-year memorandum of understanding, continue both of these programs. The signing ceremony will be held next Monday at 2:30 at the Lodi Performing Arts Center at the high school. All are welcome. We had a welcoming ceremony today. It's the first assembly we've had in the PAC in almost 3 years. We had a board member perform, right? Ashley performed. Awesome. So the recommendation would be from the administration to approve the 2022, 2023, and 2023, 2024 student exchange memorandum of understanding and the distance education memorandum of understanding between Lodi High School and San Wang Ying School, Suphanburi, Thailand. If you have any questions for our guests from Thailand, they're here.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the 2022 to 2023 and 2023 to 2024 Student Exchange Memorandum of Understanding and Distance Education Memorandum of Understanding between Lodi High School and, I'm gonna say this right,
San Wang Ying.
Sanyang School of Suphanburi, Thailand. I'll second.
I'll second that.
Terry's got it. Motion by Julie and a second by Terry. Any other further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is anyone opposed? Passes 6-0. I think we all wholeheartedly approve that one.
It's a far cry from the first time when we did this over Skype, I think, Chot. Me and you in the back room, I was in the library with Mr. Cole, and Chot was on the other side of the world, so. Again, as I said earlier, I think sometimes in Lodi we take this exchange for granted and this partnership for granted. It is a very robust one because of the people involved, and they keep it that way. And it's great for our students, and we're looking forward to starting the exchange next fall for our kids. What was that?
15 years?
2008, I think, was the first year, right? The first exchange.
2008.
Mhm. Yeah, and the distance ed program, we just celebrated our 10th anniversary.
The distance education program started in 2011.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Pretty impressive. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next, we have the COVID mitigation.
Yeah, so the medical advisory team met on April 5th to discuss our COVID mitigation strategies. They recommended very few changes since we're just coming back from spring break, and have recently changed how our lunches are working at our buildings. So the medical advisory committee continues to emphasize the importance of just symptom monitoring and PCR testing, especially as our district continues to roll back these mitigation efforts. In addition, the medical advisory committee recommended us opening up our water fountains across the district, taking care to make sure that was done carefully and safely, so we make sure we run enough water through them. So that process has been going on as well. They are still continue to be available and willing to meet as the need arises. We talked about what would bring us back to having to reinstate some mitigation, and we would do that through a meeting with them if that would ever have to happen again. We all hope that doesn't have to happen, but we are scheduled to meet again May 3rd. So again, there's very little changes on the recommendation at this point. So.
Anyone have any discussion on it? Next, we have referendum results.
So we are very grateful the community came out and supported the referendum. The official vote tally was 1,708 yeses and 1,387 noes. The district will be taking steps based on the passage of the referendum. We begin to post, if you've seen this past week, we posted for our open teaching position, which we kind of had a hold on. Started looking at making our technology purchases for next school year. Later on the agenda, you'll see compensation increases for next year for school staff, increases for contribution of staff insurance and staff retirements. And we'll be asking the board to table or not act on Agenda 805, which was going to be non-renewal of teachers as well. We are very thankful of the community's support for our students, our families, and our district. We don't take that for granted, and we look forward to continuing to partner with our community and our district. Just kind of to give you the broader view of this, there were, on April 5th, 70 Wisconsin school districts chose to go to referendum for a total of 81 questions, and 80% of them passed.
What percent?
80% passed. And actually, non-recurring referendums like we had 92% pass rate. 35 failed, 35 passed, 3 failed. The ones that we had, there was 25 questions asking for like building for debt, things like that. 10 of those failed. And 5 recurring referendums to exceed revenue limit on a recurring basis. 3 of those failed. So we're very grateful for our community.
Yes. And then we have school board election updates.
Yeah, so that same night, we had school board election. Scott Bilsey and Heather Barron were the two top vote getters, so Heather's here today. Congratulations, Heather. So first of all, just I am reaching out to both Heather and Scott. I've met with Scott Bilsey last week, and he's going to come in and with our onboarding process that we've done with board members. We're having a chance to meet with Heather tomorrow, and she's going to meet with some other staff as well to work through it. I also want to say I'm very thankful for the service that Julie McKernan gave for 3 years, and Bill Whipperforth, 25 years, have given to this district over the course of one of the most difficult stretches any board has had to navigate. Through the pandemic and increasing polarization of our community and country, they've always put forward what they thought was in the best interest of students, families, and staff, and I applaud their service. But we look forward to new staff members. But thank you. And then just a reminder that to the board that we have a reorganization meeting, which will be held on April 25th at 5:30. There is also a new board onboarding process through WASB, and that was supposed to be in Lodi, but now it's going to be moved to Portage, and that's on April 20th.
Okay, who wants to table the next item? Final action on non-renewal teacher contracts.
I'd love to. Table. Final action on non-renewal contracts.
A second.
Motion by Bill and a second by Barb. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Terry, are you an aye? Aye.
Aye.
Passes 6-0. Yay. Approval of the 2022-2023 staff and administration compensation discussion.
Yeah, so we have had conversation, we built the referendum. One of the things we built on was staff compensation and trying to catch our staff up to some of the area district. Contract review had met and recommended increases of 4.7% for teaching staff, $1 per hour increase for support staff, and a 2.5% increase for administrative staff. But I know the board's had some conversation about that, so I'll open it up to the board for discussion. Because I know in the conversations we've had, there's no number high enough. Obviously, we still have to be very fiscally prudent with this, but the board is, in the discussions I've had with them are very grateful of the work that our staff does, and would always like to give them as much as possible. So.
I'd like to make a motion of a 5.4% increase for our teaching staff distributed by percentage, and a $1 per hour increase for support staff. A 2.5% increase for administrative staff.
A second.
Motion by Bill and a second by Barb. Further discussion? Do you want to say why you want to go from 4.7 to 5.4?
We've got a high-performing school system, and we've been behind on pay. We're trying to do better. The referendum passed. We appreciate the support of the citizens. We got to take care of our staff. It's been a tough deal. We really appreciate the job they've done.
Would you be willing to amend your motion to add $15 minimum to our support staff? $15 an hour pay?
Base wage of $15 an hour on support staff.
That's a yes?
Yes.
And Barb, would you?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, so that's the new motion then. Anybody else want to add anything? Are we good? Good. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Passes 6-0. Yay. Staff insurance.
The contract review committee approved the following motion on a 3-0 vote. Recommend a full board approve contingent on the referendum passing to increase single health insurance contribution by $500 and a family plan contribution by $1,000. And again, this was shared throughout the referendum presentations. This was something that we shared that we were going to do if the referendum passed.
I move to increase the single health insurance contribution by $500 and the family plan contribution by $1,000, beginning with the 2022-2023 school year, beginning on July 1st, 2022.
And oh, go ahead. Second?
Second.
Sorry. The reason for Bill's outburst is that we're having trouble with computers and things are dancing around for us, so that is why he's having.
It went on vacation.
Yes. So a motion by Barb and a second by Julie. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Passes 6-0. Next, we have staff retirement benefits.
Yeah, very similarly, throughout the referendum, we presented that we would like to move our staff retirement. When we first went away from a contract, we went to an HRA contribution of $750 per year. We had hoped to move that up to $1,000 shortly thereafter, and it has not. So we are hoping to move that up to $1,000, so increasing it by $250 per year from $750 to $1,000 starting next school year.
I move the school district of Lodi increase its annual health reimbursement arrangement contribution beginning the 2022-2023 fiscal year by $250, with the employee handbook proration guidelines to remain as currently written. I'll second.
I second that.
Barb made a motion, second by Christie. She beat you to it, Terry. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Terry, you and I?
Aye.
Thank you. Passes 6-0. Next, consideration of letters of assurance.
Yeah, the board needs to take action to approve teachers, administrators, directors, specialist contracts, and issue letters of insurance to support staff for the 2022-23 school year. This is something we do every year at this time, so I would just ask for approval.
I'd be willing to make a motion to approve the issuing 2022-2023 contracts to the district teaching staff, administrators, directors, specialists, and to approve issuing 2022-2023 school year letters of assurance to all district support staff employees.
Second.
Motion by Bill and a second by Barb. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Passes 6-0. Communication audit and plan.
Yeah, so one of the pillars of the strategic plan that the board adopted in July of 2021 was to have an innovative communication connections. This pillar is described as committing to stakeholders to provide clear and transparent communication and opportunities for engagement. To implement this portion of the strategic plan, the administrative team has incorporated a communications audit on our current practices in our district scorecard. This audit will lead to the development of a communications plan, which will be shared with the Board of Education. The first step is selecting someone to conduct this audit for our district. The Contract Review Committee reviewed 3 different people organizations and it's recommended unanimously that the district contract with Patty Lux to provide this service. And in your board docs, you will see there is a memo for me as well as a contract from Ms. Lux. This would cost approximately $5,000 for the district. And she is willing to start. We actually have a meeting scheduled Wednesday, if this is approved.
I'll make a motion to approve Patty Luck's contract to provide communications audit and develop a communications plan for the district.
I'll second.
Motion by Bill and a second by Christie. She beat you to it again, Terry. Gotta be quicker.
It's hard like this.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Passes 6-0. Education for Employment Program.
Yeah, Chapter PI 26 indicates all districts in the state of Wisconsin required to have place an education for employment program plan. The program aims to prepare students for employment, promote cooperation between business and industry and public schools, and establish a role for public schools in economic development of Wisconsin. The curriculum committee has reviewed the attached plan and unanimously recommend that full board approval of this plan. Dr. Carl, I don't know if you want to add anything about the plan?
No,
No, the
He's a
plan
primary
really just
author.
tries to, we've been doing academic and career planning for a long time. This plan tries to capture what we're currently doing. We'll review it annually. We'll make updates to things like labor market statistics and new things that we're doing related to academic and career planning. So we'll try to infuse new, for example, youth apprenticeship opportunities that are on the horizon that we're looking at. We'll also try to infuse in here a little bit of language about some of the upcoming job fairs and careers fairs. Once we've gone through that cycle, we know a little bit more about what that's going to look like, as well as, let's see, some community business partnership, classroom partnerships as well. So lots of things that are on the horizon that we're building right now that will find themselves in this plan, but it's something that we'll need to review annually and update annually. And have posted on our website. Sorry.
I'll move to approve the education for employment plan.
Second.
Motion by Christie and a second by Barb. Further discussion? I'd like to say that in the 8 years I've been on the board, I think it's 8 years now, we've had parts and pieces of this all over the place, and thank you for your leadership of putting it into one document, and bringing it together, because it is so comprehensive and it just is wonderful to read and see all of that stuff in one place. So I just wanted to say thank you.
No problem. Appreciate it.
Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Passes 6-0. Grow your own, teachers.
Yeah, so Lodi has been in conversation with 3 other local school districts, Sauk Prairie, Wisconsin Heights, and Cambridge, about setting a Grow Your Own program for teachers. This consortium is looking to apply a workforce innovation grant to help fund the Grow Your Own program. The grant requires districts to commit to some matching funds of this consortium, which is outlined in the attached memo. The deadline for applying to the grant is this Friday. It is an innovative, collaborative way to try to attack a problem that we've all been experiencing and feel it will only become worse in the coming years. The administration wanted the board to formally approve this process before we started submitting to a grant that we started having to match things with. And just to speak to this issue, we currently have posted several positions since the passage of the referendum. Dr. Carles, you want to speak on the number of applicants we've been getting for positions posted?
Every year, we continue to see the number of applicants dwindle, and that's not just something for the school district of Lodi, that's something statewide. Over spring break, I attended the Wisconsin Education Recruitment Fair, which is an opportunity for institutes of higher education that are within the UW system and have education programs. They send their students there, and it's been a pretty robust fair in the past, but even those numbers of students that are coming to learn about districts and job opportunities that we have are dwindling, and I definitely recognized that over spring break when I was at that career fair. So it's something that will be a challenge, not only currently, but I think moving forward. So it's something we have to continue to try to address.
And the reason we're looking at it as a consortium perspective is, first of all, this grant is a possibility, and the more counties we kind of have helps. But secondly, the idea is that if somebody, we would help with scholarships and things of that nature that students would, if they didn't work in a consortium school, would have to pay back. But the idea that, if we give somebody a scholarship, there's a chance that we may not have that type of opening if somebody goes. But with the 4 school districts, you would hope that there would be an opening, right? And that, so we would be able to offset those things and work together to help create this process, because we looked at people who are most likely to come and stay here are people who like rural Wisconsin, who like living in towns like Lodi or a Cambridge or a Sauk Prairie or Wisconsin Heights, or live in those areas, are most likely to come and stay. So that's kind of the school district we're looking at. We weren't looking at the Sun Prairies and the Middletons of the world. They don't need our help with this, but we kind of need help. So it's just an opportunity. Again, the grant is something we're hoping for, which would help offset this.
How did this group come together?
The superintendent at Wisconsin Heights did his dissertation on the shortage of teachers in rural schools, and it really is kind of his brainchild. He reached out to myself and Sauk, since I have a history of Wisconsin Heights, and then we're connected between the 3 of us and different things. And then we looked at what's another district we could get that would grab us a couple more counties. When you look at a grant, especially innovative workforce development, the more counties we can have in southern Wisconsin touching it. So by bringing in Cambridge, I think we brought in 2 more counties into that mix. And again, they're a similar sized school.
Green and
Dean and Jefferson.
Jefferson. Yep. And we all have a piece of Dane.
I move to join the GROW Consortium and participate in the Workforce Development Grant as presented.
I'll second.
Motion
I
by,
seconded.
motion by Barb, second by Julie. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Passes 6-0. Policies, first readings.
Yes, so we have a couple policies here. We have the controversial issues policy and rule. Dr. Carl's led that process to help create this policy and rule. It came out of a review of our policies by a third-party vendor who identified this as an area that Lodi might want to consider developing a policy and rule. I'll kind of let Dr. Carl take the lead in walking us through the process that we went through to get here.
Yeah, absolutely. So a review of district policies by 2 third-party vendors earlier this school year identified a few areas where the school district of Lodi could consider creating policy. One of the areas brought forward and discussed at the board's policy committee focused on addressing controversial issues with students in classes and outside of classes. So following that meeting, the district administrator Vince and then the board's policy committee asked for a draft policy to be created for their review. And as a first step in this process, both vendors and various other school districts provided samples of policies and rules related to this topic. So these policies and rules were then reviewed by the school district of Lodi department chairs and building representatives, so teacher leaders in the district, during 3 optional listening sessions for feedback. Feedback themes and the various sample policies and rules or feedback themes on the various sample policies and rules were shared. And then all of that information was shared with the board's policy committee in late October, in which then the policy committee provided some additional input and direction. A single policy draft and rule draft was then created and shared with educators during building staff meetings. This allowed educators to provide further feedback and see if any other themes for consideration arose. And then at the February policy committee meeting, board representatives reviewed the draft, provided some additional suggestions, and asked that the district's legal counsel reviewed the draft policy and rule. And then feedback from the legal counsel was shared at the March policy committee meeting, and the board's policy committee integrated those suggestions and then motioned to bring it to the full board. So quite a bit of process that this has gone through so far. I would say that when you look at the policy, I would please be certain to look at the rule as well. And I'm obviously you've read it already, but I'm just speaking to anyone in general because the meat of this is in the rule. Like if you look at the rule and if you're an educator, you're one of our staff, and you're looking for guidance, that multitude of the guidance is going to come through that rule, okay? And then also I would just say if this is approved, it's something that what we'd be looking to do is start off as we begin next school year, connecting with our staff around this policy, connecting with our educators, hopefully connecting with our substitutes as well, and just kind of walking through this policy as it can provide guidance as we move forward. If it was something you would approve, I would also say, and what we heard from Mr. Whitforth articulated this at the policy committee meeting, we would be in the first year under this policy. So we would really kind of take that and see how that first year goes with this and see after that year if we have to make any adjustments.
So it is a first read, so there is no motion that needs to be taken at this point, but open any questions people may have. There has been a lot of time by Dr. Carl, so thank you for all your effort by other staff and by the policy committee. Spent a lot of time reviewing this, discussing it, going over the different aspects of it, so it's a pretty robust part of policy.
sorry it's so long, but there's a lot to cover.
I don't think it is too long. I think it covers the parts it needs to cover, yeah.
So the other policy that's there is complaints against school personnel. So I was asked to take a look at that policy by the policy committee. They felt they needed to have some deadlines embedded within it. So those deadlines were added, and that was approved to come to the full board by a 3-0 vote of the policy committee as well.
So if you could open 872 up. The opening paragraph to me is a little awkward. It doesn't like flow correctly. And so I was suggesting changes of, you basically want to say, board wants open communication. During that process, complaints may arise. So we're going to follow these guidelines if that happens. Right? Those are the three things that need to be in that open paragraph. So I rewrote it. Again, you can just listen. The board would like all school personnel to make every practical effort to facilitate open and productive communication with all students, parents, guardians, and residents of the school district of Lodi. Realizing that complaints against school personnel may arise during communication, the board would also like to codify the following complaint against school personnel guidelines, and then the guidelines are there. To me, that kind of covers those three things in legalese kind of wording.
Thanks for the input.
So we could do a couple of things. Either we can take it, I can take that and wordsmith, or put that back into here, and then just bring it back for a second read. Or we can send it back to policy committee. It doesn't sound like we're changing anything, so I would lean towards the first. Just have me change that and bring it back for a second read, and then again, at that time, you can always decide, nope,
Yeah.
that doesn't meet our needs.
Right.
We're gonna send it back to policy, or we can move forward.
Just adjusting the first paragraph should take care of it.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, that would be all the
agree.
change. I can do that.
Okay, there are no second reads for policy, and there are no gifts and donations. Administrative reports. Lodi Middle School.
Yeah, first of all, congratulations to all the students in the month for February that were for overcoming obstacles. Those students overcame obstacles such as shredding a difficult solo on the French horn, working through some difficult personal challenges, and grinding through topics students may find difficult, among other things. So congratulations to those students. Next month's theme is going to be on improvement. Lodi FFA took a trip up to Green Bay to develop our students to leadership. We had 13 students attend, and I think I mentioned this before, but in case I didn't, I want to do it again. I want to thank Riley Schneider, who's a high school student that's really been supervising our students and has done an amazing job recruiting students. We have 20 to 30 students at every FFA meeting, and it's really just an awesome growing group. I'm super pleased to have that opportunity for our kids at the middle school, because there's obviously a lot of interest. Moving forward, we got the Wisconsin Forward testing coming up here next week. 6th and 7th graders will be assessed in math and language arts, and 8th graders will be assessed in math, language arts, science, and social studies, and we're just in the final stages of buttoning up that for our students. We got the schedule organized and sent out to parents, and it's just a matter of executing next week. With cafeteria seating, we've got low COVID numbers, which is amazing, so we no longer have split lunches, which is also amazing. So now we're allowing students to sit in groups of 8 at the long tables and 4 students at our smaller tables. And thus far, this transition has been excellent for our kids. The cafeteria behavior has been good. And with the weather cooperating, we can send, we got a lot of more kids going outside too, so that's really helpful too, when we can clear some numbers out. Nurturing the whole child, so as a part of our strategic plan, the community indicated that as a part of their vision, they would like the school district of Lodi to take steps to nurture the whole child. So as a part of that process, the Lodi Middle School staff took place in a training by Developmental Designs, trying to help us create a community within our classroom and within our school. And that's a process that we're trying to work out for next year, putting in a system for having a morning advisory time for our students to meet and connect with staff, feel like they belong, and connect with each other. Forensics. So we had over 40 students in forensics this school year, which is awesome. And I want to thank Michelle House, Sally Chapman, Jennifer Hall, and Shelley Pear for providing their expertise in this opportunity for our kids. And we had 2 meets. In general, forensics in middle school runs from mid-January to early March, and we had 2 meets. One was in Lodi, and one was in Columbus, and they were fantastic. It's just great to see the kids in that Avenue.
How many kids did you say were in forensics?
I believe we had 44 is the exact number, but I think I said 40 just to be safe, but it was over 40.
No, but that is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
It's awesome.
Wow.
And then the sixth grade, just to highlight this, celebrated Read Across America. They celebrated this by having a flip and flop read, making their own bookmarks, create new book covers for their favorite book, reflect on favorite books. Thing 1 and Thing 2 nonfiction reading, read and listen to their favorite children's books, and watch as staff members entertain the annual Race and Read. And the Race and Read is where all the sixth grade teachers line up in the hall, and then they all have the same books in the classroom, and they take turns running and reading a page in each classroom and racing through. And the kids, I've learned now that they chant the teacher's name of their homeroom every time someone enters. So, no, it's a great time, and just a great way to celebrate reading for our kids. That's all I have.
So can you go back to the beginning, Student of the Month? Has
Yeah.
it always been a switch every month to a different kind of topic, or is that something new?
Yeah, it switches every month switches. So we've had one like Perseverance has been one. I know Improvement is coming next month. I know coming up is Lodi Pride is one of them. I can't think of other ones off the top of my head. But yeah, we just have different themes every month, and the sixth grade team, seventh and eighth grade team all nominate 3 students, and then our specialists or elective courses nominate 3 students as well, 1 from each grade.
Are you asking if the themes are new this year?
Yeah, no, because
Isn't it just been general?
Yeah, that's really hard to say. So we had this thing called COVID, and then
Yes,
like
everything-
before COVID,
yeah.
everything is really blurry
So
for our
BC,
staff.
so we should start saying
Yes,
it's BC.
so
BC.
it seems like there was a student of the month, and I think it maybe lived within
There always was a
grade.
Student of the Month, that was always there.
Yeah, there was I don't think it had the themes though, which I think is an awesome.
It is totally awesome, right? I mean, overcoming obstacles, right, is just phenomenal for some student who's overcoming an obstacle. Now they get an award.
Yeah, and the themes also just give a lot of different students opportunities to be represented.
Right. Just yay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Next we have high school.
All right, thanks, Adam. First of all, staff appreciation for a couple staff members, Connor Anderson and Jill Daling. So Connor Anderson's class grew some microgreens, radish microgreens in our greenhouse. And it's always nice to see that those are being actually used in the food that our students eat. So Jill was able to make that into pesto that was actually put into our pizza. And you can see Connor there enjoying a slice of pizza from the microgreens that were grown. So that was awesome. Thank you, Jill and Connor. A couple student recognitions. Again, we do have student athletes that sometimes sign to play collegiate athletics. So proud father here, Holly Jelinek, is attending St. Olaf to play volleyball. Personally, I really wanted to thank Adora Bilsey and Aaron Stalker for being amazing coaches over the year and kind of helping her, guide her in that direction, because I think she's really going to enjoy that. Lucas Hayroth, who will be attending UW-Madison and running track. The picture that you see in my report is of Jacob, Lucas, and Mackenzie. I don't know if you know a lot about the Hayroths, but Jacob was a former UW-Madison football player and state player of the year back in 2017. Lucas, more than likely, if things go the way they should, will help Lodi boys maybe bring a state championship back in track again this year, because he's an accomplished trackster. And then Mackenzie Hayroth, who is the state girls track athlete of the year in 2018, also is an athlete at UW. So all of the Hayroths are going, we have a former UW athlete, we have a present UW athlete, and we have a future UW athlete from the Hayroths. So I just wanted to make a note of that. Next, VAC state competition. Going into the arts, we did have 8 students that competed at the state meet and did an outstanding job. And I want to thank Whitney Robarge and Dwayne Daly for their leadership for all of these students. We did have a prom this past weekend. So it's the first prom that we've had in 2 years. We did have a homecoming dance, but it was mass, so it was a little bit stressful for Mr. Marshall and I. This one wasn't as stressful, and I really want to thank Rachel Tippery, who's one of our newer teachers, and she is our junior class advisor. Donna Melcher's been out for a little bit, so she's also one of our junior class advisors and couldn't help as much, and Rachel did an outstanding job with the help of library media assistant Sarah Gleiss. You can see there's our court. I think our king and queen were May Colliard and Nick Hoffman. So congratulations to them. We do have Aspire testing that, we have a window for Aspire testing from April 4th through May 4th for our 9th and 10th graders. And you can see exactly where they will take their English, writing, reading, science, and math tests this month. Speaking of forensics, we did have some students go to the state forensics meet, and I wanted to make note of senior Amelia Heider. So she actually received, there's an elite number of students that earn the top score in honor of the Critics' Choice Gold Medal Award. She has received 4 years in a row a gold medal at state forensics. So quite the accomplishment for Amelia. So I wanted to congratulate her. I'm going to jump to student poll workers. So with the help of Jane Haupt and Christy McMorris, really appreciate an opportunity for our students to go and work on April 5th for the town of Lodi. So junior Ariana Swadley, Anna Ladwig, and there's Amelia again, Amelia Heider. I think they worked for about 4-hour shifts and did an outstanding job from what I heard. And I asked them how it went, and they said the ladies really liked them.
They did. And can I just add that they gave it all back as community service and didn't charge the town at all, which we were going to pay them, and they said, no, we don't want to be paid, so.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Our soccer team had a great opportunity. I love taking pictures out on their turf field, and it was a beautiful day on April 1st, and our soccer team actually got to play Marian Catholic High School out of Chicago. So they traveled and played our team, and Joe Burkholz, our head coach, took a great picture and shared it with me, so I wanted to share it with you. We did have an Optimus Candidate Forum at the high school. That was a great opportunity for a couple of our classes to go and attend. So Mr. Hauser's U.S. History class and Mrs. Barlow's Popular Culture class. 3 of the 4 candidates were there. Lots of great questions were asked by community members, but also by some of our students. So I really appreciated some of them getting up and being brave enough to ask some questions. And then the last thing is we did have a professional development day on March 18th, and we continue to learn a little bit about developmental designs, which is an approach to teaching that encompasses both the academic and social needs of our adolescents. And I think it's great for them to come and learn about what that looks like and what it should look like, not just in homerooms, but in their regular classrooms. But it's also a great opportunity for our staff to come together and work together. And there's a lot of smiles and laughs and all that. So, and that is the high school.
Thank you. Switching. Curriculum.
All right. First, I just want to say a big congratulations to Lodi Elementary School teacher Laura D'Agostino and library media specialist Paula Tunn, who were both announced, I believe it was last week, as Cole Teacher Fellowship Award winners. So that's a big recognition, and you can see, we were posting on Facebook for that, and then you can also see the recognition link there attached to my board agenda if you want to read a little bit more. We also are really excited. We continue to provide at our middle school for all students the advanced learner opportunity to participate in the Yahara Writers Contest. And so we have a few students who will be announced tomorrow, I believe, right? Tomorrow, so we're going to have a couple of students who are going to be announced as top 10 winners, and they have the opportunity to participate in a top 10 writers workshop at the UW-Madison campus. And so I can't tell you who it is, but they'll know tomorrow. Speaker. And then, what else do we have on here? I know Ms. Fossmetter will speak a little bit more about this, in depth about this, because I believe it's in her board report as well, but annually, one of the things that we started last year is a foundational literacy survey that asks our educators at the primary level and the elementary level, we'll be starting it with the middle school in the future as well, to self-evaluate on our literacy structures that we have in place as we continue to try to build coherence amongst our educators in that content area moving forward. And we saw some really great data out of this from our second survey that we've given. And also, if you see the picture on there, our PPG group for Community Connection Classroom Partnerships, they thought it would be a great idea to do a poster annually. They're about this big. that can be as a thank you to those businesses and service organizations that come in and partner in our classrooms. We can hand those out and they can hang those in their places of work. So we'll create a new poster annually and we'll be able to send those out.
Okay, LCAT. Terry, you want to give an LCAT report? You're on mute right
I'm
now.
here.
Oh, there you go. You're good. Yep.
My fingers only move so fast. Okay, Brian, school report, board report for 2022 April. So Brian received training to become an instructor for in-depth program, which is a smoking cessation program. This evidence-based program was created by the American Lung Association and consists of 4 one-hour lessons. The program can be taught to 14 to 19-year-old students as an alternative to suspension or citation for being caught smoking. The goal of the program is to educate students on nicotine dependence. During the course, students identify their own reasons for using tobacco products. Since February, 2 students have successfully completed the program so far. The program will be taught as needed. LCAT is promoting the One Pill Can Kill campaign. The federal campaign is sponsored by the Drug Enforcement Administration. The campaign was designed to make the public aware about counterfeit pills containing fentanyl, which is a synthetic opioid. These pills are very common and can be very deadly for the user. Brian will give presentations to various groups about the One Pill Can Kill campaign. Information about the campaign will also be put on the LCAT website and Facebook page. Brian gave a presentation at the Principal Advisory Council meeting, which was held on March 21st, 2022. Topics covered included the in-depth program, Delta 8 awareness, and the One Pill Can Kill campaign. Brian completed tobacco compliance checks in the city of Lodi in March. All businesses complied and did not sell tobacco products to minors. Brian will be attending Prime for Life training this summer. Prime for Life is a program that provides a way of understanding how alcohol and drug-related problems develop, what we can do to prevent them, and why sometimes we need help. Brian will be working with the high school principal, Mr. Jelnick, and middle school principal, Mr. Kurtzmore, to see where this program will fit in their respective schools. Thank you.
Okay. Ashley.
Sure. So we had fun at prom. That was one thing. Everybody's been talking about it. The music department is hosting Large Group Festival this Wednesday, so we're really excited. We decided not to participate this year, but we'll have plenty of schools to keep us busy, and there's some student help that will be leading schools around and hosting the headquarters, getting judges coffee and things like that. Spring sports are starting up, so we're really excited about that. In March, FFA had a petting zoo, so students that don't really get to see animals much or live in town got to come down. We had a goat, a couple of dogs, the ducks were out. It was kind of wild, but it was a fun time. And then we had 2 different teams for career development events for FFA go to regionals at UW Platteville. We're not going to state, but it was a really good experience and had fun there. And then also coming up on the 22nd, I believe, is Day on the Farm, so we're really excited to connect with students from Lodi, and students from Madison actually are coming too, to teach them about agriculture. So yeah.
Okay, student services.
Yeah, Derek and Joe both mentioned the professional development that took place in March. This professional development took place at all 4 of our school buildings with a focus on Pillar 2. We had our last developmental screener for the community of this school year. We had 4 children and their caregivers attend the screening day. Special thanks to that early learning team, Janelle Mosley, Andy Rubino, Crystal Schaff, Jen Fafinski, Nora Mack, and Rebecca Eller. And we will kick off developmental screeners right away in early fall of next year. We also had a Read 180 training for our middle school and high school special education team. Read 180 is a reading intervention used for students who are 2 or more years behind in their reading skills. Teachers learned additional resources that exist within the program to use with their students, how to navigate this online platform, and how to build independence and boost engagement in reading for our students. And finally, Project Search had an open house on March 22nd. I added in the school districts that are in Project Search along with the Lodi School District. Project Search is for students with disabilities age 18 to 21 to learn employment skills. And the goal of Project Search is to improve and secure employment for individuals leaving the transition program. I also added the local business partners that support those internships. And in addition, at the open house, we had a graduate of Lodi High School speak to the group. This alum went to Project Search while in the 18 to 21-year-old transition program and is now working at Mueller Sports Medicine.
Thank you. Primary school.
So as Mr. Birchborn had talked about his cafeteria, we also have made some changes to the cafeteria, and it has been quite the success, and it's been pretty quiet in the cafeteria. But the kids are really enjoying being able to sit with their peers in their class. We're still sitting as classes, but it just has been a really smooth transition. Appreciate the lunch staff and all they did to make that happen, to Mr. Rick as well. Mrs. O had chose 5 students to participate in the Youth Art Month, and one of the finalists was Kingsley Mack, who was in 1st grade, and she had a picture that is being displayed of a tiger at the Baldwin Street Art Gallery. So it was a really awesome opportunity for her and pretty cool. We did do the survey, as Dr. Carls had talked about, for the foundational reading skills and just some of the different celebrations. In regards to, it was again a self-assessment that the teachers took on this. In regards to phonological awareness, in regards to providing explicit instruction on onset and rhyme on a 6-point scale. Last year, 5.3% of the staff scored themselves at a 6. This year, it was 54.5% of staff scored themselves at a 6. So that's just one example of that. Another celebration is in regards to phonics. In regards to following a scope and sequence, which is one of the big things we had talked about, that we didn't have that prior to this, for teaching letter sound relationships using that same 6-point scale. Last year, 6.3% of staff scored themselves at a 6, and 31.3% of them scored themselves at a 1. This year, 47.6% scored themselves at a 6, and 14.3% scored themselves at a 1. So, again, just a couple of different changes, but the staff are starting to see and recognize those changes, which then obviously transfers down to the students. So.
And that came through training and using the program and speaking with each other and that kind of stuff, and everybody's going up.
Yep, and we have it, so the consistency is across the whole grade level teams, but then also vertically as we move forward as a school. So, yeah, it's very exciting.
It is very exciting. And last but not least, elementary OSC.
Yeah, the nice part about going last is everybody pretty much covered everything in our report, so enjoy. Lunchroom, the only thing that wasn't said is 2/3 of our kids have never eaten in our lunchroom, so we went through and did retraining. The very first day, or the morning after the first day, Carrie Riley sent, or the evening of the first day, Carrie Riley sent a note, said how awesome the kids were, because we worked on, there is an advantage to taking like 2 years off from doing something. There are no bad habits, so you get to kind of address that. So when they're in there, the kids wouldn't always put their tray like over, so the food service people are like leaning over to scoop, so we got to do that. We also got to teach that it should be quiet in there, because then it's hard for food service to hear. And then kids also, like our kids do a pretty good job, and we'll say please and thank you, but it's like, please, thank you. So we told them that they had to be able to hear, and so Carrie's like, it was awesome. I mean, like, they were excited to have kids back, but choices that they were making were great. So you see some pictures in there. We also had the first project night for OSC in over 2 years, because project night was one of the very first things that we shut down as a school district when the pandemic started. And so there are some examples of the projects that were presented, and so project night is based on, it's a 3-year rotation, and this year it is on community gems. And so community gems is just looking at people in the community that provide a service or are helpful or are a community hero, and so then OSC students reach out to those folks, research them, talk to them, talk with them, and then are able to present information on those community gems. So we had over 500 families, friends, and past alumni through to see the project night. And there's pictures there as well. Then we also had school-wide celebrations, so we've been trying to bring back celebrations because we would have monthly celebrations in our school pre-pandemic. And so this is an example of Capture the Flag, where kids got to go outside on, as you can see from the pictures, a very beautiful, gloomy, rainy day, but still enjoyed it. So they got to do it as a grade level outside, and we're playing Capture the Flag. And then again, that's for our meeting our community expectations, so having a growth mindset, belonging, kindness, support, and security. And then Fine Arts Night is tomorrow, so that's coming up. Forward testing is now into week number 2, so our 4th grade is starting their 2nd week. They'll be done at the end of this week with everybody that was in attendance. And Cold Ward for Miss D, so I don't want to minimize it, but I know that Dr. Carl's had already hit it, so.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
It is totally fine. When you go last, there's not a lot left to this baby, so. That's it.
Thank you. District Administrator report.
Yeah, first and foremost, just a large thank you to the community for supporting the referendum. Really appreciate everybody who came out to different listening sessions or coffee with the superintendent or all the other different, or read the community link or looked at our website and took time to get educated, and everybody who came out and voted. Really appreciate all the work that the administration put in putting together the referendum and the board. There was a lot of hours by this group putting this together, a lot of tough decisions to be made, and just really appreciate, as I said earlier, we never take for granted the community supporting our students and our families and our staff, and we take that seriously and feel it's a privilege, and we'll continue to do our best. As you heard tonight, just listening to these reports, the great things that are going on in our district and why it is a great place to be here. And we're taking steps now based on that referendum, as you heard tonight throughout the agenda. We were able to table some things which weren't going to be very much fun, and able to talk about some things that were a little bit more positive in talking about with our staff. So really do appreciate that from our community. Secondly, I know it's been said a couple times, so I'm going to say it again. We have 2 co-fellowship winners. Just really proud of both of them. Laura D'Agostino from the 3rd grade and our middle school, high school librarian, Paula Tun. They were one of 2 of the 8 staff members in CISA 5 to receive this well-deserved honor, so congratulations to both Laura and Paula. Let's see. Public input sign-up email. So we've been sending out, since COVID started, an opportunity for people to sign up for public input for the board through our Infinite Campus system. At the end of the school year, we're going to stop doing that, because it typically people come up, and that what it had done before, like, right, we just got done talking about all the stuff we've been doing before COVID.
Right.
People came in, signed in to come in for public input and do those things. Because it also, this is a community school board, right? It's not just our parents, and the only people who get that email is our parents, right? So it's just something that as people come in and sign up for community input, that's what they will need. Or they'll be able to do it online as well, but we'll just stop sending out that email as we get out of this school year. We'll do it next month one more time, but I just want to give people a heads up that we will stop doing that. Want to say thanks to Joe and Jason for prom. I know he didn't talk about himself or Mr. Marshall, but it's a long evening. And you don't sleep well that evening either after it gets done, right? You're just waiting, hoping there's no phone calls or anything like that. So really appreciate the time and effort that puts in. I know it's the kind of music they love to listen to. That makes it a little easier. But it's a great evening for our kids in our community, but it is a long evening for the chaperones and for Joe and Jason. So really appreciate all their work on that, and then our prom supervisors and the parent chaperones and things of that nature. I went to a CISA meeting on Friday, and it was great. They were talking about the difficulty that people are going to have to get cyber insurance and all the things you have to do to get cyber insurance. And thanks, Mr. Potter, we are doing all of them, right? So we have to have multi-factor authentication, right? Which everybody will have to have here by May 1st, right? Or else you're going to get locked out of your Google account. Testing of our staff, practice phishing emails, which we do. Some training through KnowBe4. All those things that we are doing, and our staff, begrudgingly do, because again, it's just another thing, but it's all those things that we have to do because the attacks are going up significantly on school districts. It was interesting. We were having this conversation, and then there was a break, and everybody kind of glanced at their email, and in their emails, Black River Falls closed last week because of a cyber attack. So Just again, something we will continue to have to monitor and watch, but thanks, Mr. Potter, for your leadership in that. And finally, we have our Outstanding Impact Awards banquet next Monday in the PAC. Looking forward to that, and thanks always to the Rotary Club for their sponsorship of that. It's a great evening, very unique to Lodi, where not only do we honor our outstanding students, but those outstanding students get to honor people who have outstanding, educators who have an outstanding impact on their lives. It's a great night, long night, but a great night. So looking forward to that, and thanks to Joe and Maureen for all their work in putting that together.
So in the PAC this year, because it was just the easier place to.
Yeah, we didn't, again, when we started planning it, we've typically had dinners, like, and then, so it's been real close quarters, so planning it was, you just didn't know with COVID. And then secondly, by the time we like, well, we could have a dinner, the place we typically have it wasn't available. So we just easier to make sure we could have it. Plus we have a soccer game that night, so it's easier for those kids to get to that event.
Perfect.
As well. They won't be there for the whole thing, but.
Board president report, so I'm also gonna say, yay, we passed the referendum, yay, oh my God. Yes, and I'd like to wholeheartedly thank the community also for investing not only in our children, but also investing in our staff and the places that our staff work. Passing the referendum was also a vote on investing in our community, our city, our villages, and our townships, not just our school district. And then taking a minute to look back over the last 2 years of COVID, it was those same staff who are the ones who truly put everything on the line for our children. And not simply only the last 2 years of the pandemic, but every day is where our staff is at with students. They are always there for our children, and what a phenomenal return on our investment in this referendum is our staff. So, and it was already mentioned by everybody else, 2 of those staff, Laura D'Agostino and Paula Tun, being recognized for a COLA award. And again, another testament to the quality of our teachers and another phenomenal return on the community investment in the referendum. And then congratulations to Heather Barron on winning. Scott Bilsey would have been here tonight too, but he's on call. So I would thank him also, or congratulate him also. We look forward to working with both of you on the board up here next month. And then deeply saddened to bid farewell to both Julie and Bill, right? It's just, this is the hard part, right? Julie, you're always investigating, right? You're always digging. You give us such great insight to the obscure things that we're missing, and it's really gonna be missed, right? That those minute details are not being picked on anymore. So thank you. And then Bill, man, 25 years of sage advice. It's just, to me, it's almost incomprehensible. I couldn't imagine being here 25 years.
One day at a time.
I know.
One day at a time.
Sage advice, historical context, the long speeches you give will be dearly missed. You're one of the people on the board, so I've been on the board 8 years. You're one of the people who cares the most about our staff over those 8 years. That's you.
Yeah, you know, after tonight, you can let that word get out, but I've always been the hard case, because I started when we had a teachers union, so I was on the negotiating committee. We never did succeed in a negotiation when we had the teachers union, ever. So now we have the responsibility and of compensating our teachers and taking care of them, and the raise we put together tonight will speak volumes about that.
And you were a big push behind that. I just want people to know that. And then, again, one more thing, of you taking this board to a whole new level at CISA and then at the state. Thank you. Those are greatly appreciated.
And we have a current board member that's expressed an interest in filling my job there, which would go from, I'd probably start in May and go till the regional meeting this fall, and then there would be an election for 2 more years.
Okay, cool, thank you. So, again, we're gonna greatly miss both of you. Reports. CISA 5. So it would be Angie, and she's flying home right now. So, co-curricular items.
I've got that. Lodi boys baseball team has been hit hard by inclement weather and wet spring weather. with 4 out of 5 games being postponed so far. They're currently 0-1, suffering a 12-2 loss versus Adams Friendship on April 5th. They have a busy week ahead, playing Mount Horeb tonight, Columbus at home on Tuesday, Marshall at home on Wednesday, and Belleville at home and at Belleville on Thursday. The Lodi softball team, I guess I don't have to say, they've also struggled with inclement weather. But they've had 3 or 4 games postponed so far. They're currently 1 win and no losses. Write that down, people. Winning 15-4 over Wisconsin Dells on April 5th. They play at Monroe tonight, at Columbus on Tuesday, and at home versus Cambridge on Thursday. The Lodi girls soccer team is currently 0-2-1. They had a strong second half to come back and tie Marion Catholic in their season opener and went on to lose at Evansville and DeForest. This week they play at Columbus on Tuesday and at home versus Monroe on Thursday. The track and field team is off to a strong start. In the opening indoor meet in Ripon, the boys took home 4th place and the girls took home 5th place, with Lodi junior Lily Strong earning a nomination for Wisconsin Girls Performer of the Week. Big deal. This past weekend, the track team participated in the Wisconsin Indoor Track and Field Championships at UW Whitewater. The girls placed 9th overall and the boys placed 25th. Senior Ella Poles took home 1st place in the girls' shot put. And that's all I have for the moment.
OSC.
So yes, like Mike said, Project Night was awesome. So fabulous to have that back and to have so many people there. So now we move on, well, and the lottery happened, 29 students were offered enrollment. And now we move on to our big thing, which is the musical, which will be May 6th.
And 29 fills the 88 slots. Okay. Contract review would also be Angie, right?
We touched base on
Well,
everything.
I got it up here, yeah. Well, a lot of what was on the agenda tonight
Yep.
with the
Public
staff
compensation and-
compensation, the insurance, retirement benefits, communications, audit, yeah. Yeah, and then we talked a little bit, and I gave Brent some information about possibly getting software to help, I don't know what we would. Yeah, for human resource software.
nice. That would be good.
To maybe look at a couple of companies that would be an adder to our accounting software. So it basically keeps track of everything better, so.
Is that something that CISA could do? Like take all CISA 10 schools and do HR for all 10 schools?
No, this is just for.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I know. But this would just be for our district.
Right.
So, and you can set, depending on what software, you can set your own parameters on different things, so, yeah.
Curriculum.
We had Kate McCrae from the music department come and talk to us. OSC will have a musical in May. The middle school had their mouthpiece fitting, which is a big deal for them. They recently had solo ensemble. There was 43 students, I think, in the high school that participated. 35 in 19 events are going to state, and state contest is last Saturday in April. She said there are a lot of concerts coming up. This is her go time where she doesn't sleep or do anything. The fundraiser for the Music Booster is May 14th. What they're looking ahead to next year is a high school chamber choir, and having Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra come, I believe, or go to it.
They're gonna go
That's
perform
right.
with the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra.
That's right. And then their trip to Orlando. They're just looking to continue to rebuild after COVID. I mean, obviously the music department was one of the hardest hit departments for school. Resources, she says nothing big, but down the road, digital pianos. And so we had a good discussion on that and just different options and maybe what we can look at, but how we could fit it maybe in the budget to get them that. I think that was it for the most part for her. And then it was a quick agenda as opposed to the last time. So we talked about the Education for Employment Plan, which was great and very thorough. And then we approved that tonight. And then we talked about virtual learning options and went through the different things for that. So.
Okay, thank you. Facility finance.
We did not meet because the referendum passed.
Hey.
Took a break.
So we're gonna have to
Policy.
take a break.
All the work we did was put forth on the board agenda tonight, so you had a look at it, so it'll be fine.
Thank you. Our future meetings and agenda is right there in front of you. And one of our board members want to make an adjournment last time?
I got one future agenda item, if you can believe this. I met with the Wisconsin Association of School Boards this past Friday night and Saturday. And there's a new sheriff in town at the Department of Public Instruction. His name is Thomas McCarthy. And he's from the Office of the State Superintendent. He worked with our former business manager, Dan Bush, under then State Superintendent Evers. So he has some familiarity. He's had some other jobs. So he's coming into this job. He made as strong of a first impression as is possible. By simply saying he's listening, he's being open-minded. They want to get to a point where they do better than they currently are. So now's your chance, people. Get your information to him. He did a really good job for our board. He sat down with us and we were all a team and we just went round and round with questions and answers and how do we accomplish this, how do we do that? And when he didn't have the answer, he had enough confidence to say, I'll look into it, I'll find out, I'll get back to you. I liked that. The other thing is, earlier tonight, we were talking about potentially helping create grants for students to become teachers. There's a couple things I wish we would think about. I know we have situations where we have students that can graduate after first semester, and we happen to have a history of being short of aides. Please create something where students that are interested could become aides while they're still in school here and potentially get paid as an aide. You know, if they have morning classes, fine, then they do it in the afternoon. Figure it out. Make it happen. Other than that, the only other thing we heard from the WIA was kind of along the same lines. I understand that not every high school person is an athlete, but they may still have an interest in the game. And the WIA is looking to help students become officials to try to grow people. What better place for them to learn and, you know, set them up to try their skills in the middle school or the whatever it may be so they get their feet onto the ground. But these are some of the things we talked about, and thank you.
Empowering students.
We did have some kids a couple years ago that were doing refereeing.
Official.
learning and certificate.
Oh, and you were talking about adjourning, and since Julie and I are leaving, so I'll make the motion to adjourn. Julie, if you want a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Bill and a second by Julie. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Terry's an aye too, 6-0. We are now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Just a reminder, we have a meeting Wednesday night.
We do have a meeting Wednesday night, yes.
Yucky, yucky, yucky.
5:30?
Yeah, ideas. I said no.
Yep.
No.
The first two for sure.
The bomb squad, I'm like the bomb.
Oh, I'm gonna actually eat dinner.
And then the other
I
one.
gotta go buy cat litter.